What you are about to hear now could literally change your life. The root of unhappiness. The courage to be disliked opens with a bold premise: the majority of our personal problems and unhappiness arise because we care too much about how others perceive us. This seemingly simple idea is the foundation of a transformative philosophy, rooted in the psychological teachings of Alfred Adler and interpreted by authors Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Their central message is that freedom and happiness come only when we accept the reality that not everyone will like us, and when we stop trying to make them. The Psychology of Happiness, Adlerian Foundations. The book relies heavily on the principles of Alfred Adler, a 20th-century psychologist who diverged from Freud and Jung, by focusing not on past trauma or unconscious drives, but on future goals and personal agency. Adler believed that we are not passively shaped by our experiences or traumas. Instead, we interpret and assign meaning to those events based on our current goals, even if those goals are unconscious. Kishimi and Fumitake build on this idea, arguing that our behaviors, thoughts, and emotions all serve the purpose of achieving a goal we've consciously or unconsciously chosen. This includes emotions that seem involuntary, like fear or sadness. For instance, if someone becomes too anxious to attend a job interview, the anxiety might not be a random feeling, it could be a strategy to avoid the risk of failure. The goal isn't actually to get the job, the hidden goal is to protect the self from the emotional pain of rejection. Rejecting the tyranny of the past. One of the book's most liberating ideas is the rejection of determinism, especially the idea that our past dictates who we are. According to Kishimi and Fumitake, we are not bound by childhood experiences or traumas. While these may influence us, they don't determine our futures unless we choose to let them. What matters is not what has happened to us, but the meaning we assign to those experiences and the goals we set as a result. No experience is a cause of success or failure, they write. We do not suffer from the shock of our experiences, the so-called trauma, but instead we make out of them whatever suits our purposes. This empowers the individual to take full responsibility for their own life, not in a way that denies pain, but in a way that insists we always have the power to choose our responses. Choosing unhappiness. A hidden strategy. One of the more provocative claims made by the authors is that some people choose unhappiness. This doesn't mean they enjoy suffering, rather, they have adopted unhappiness as a strategy to cope with unmet goals or as a way to avoid risk. According to Kishimi and Fumitake, constant unhappiness is often a sign that someone is pursuing a frustrating, unachievable goal, most commonly, the desire for approval from others. When people fail to receive this validation, they often give up trying altogether, convincing themselves they are fundamentally flawed or unworthy. This belief justifies their continued unhappiness and allows them to avoid the vulnerability required to try again. Life's central challenge: relationships with others. The book argues that all of life's problems are essentially interpersonal problems. How we relate to others, whether we seek their approval, fear their judgment, or compete with them, determines our sense of fulfillment. Kishimi and Fumitake propose two primary goals that shape our relationships: seeking approval, external validation, contributing to others, internal fulfillment. Unhappy people, they say, primarily pursue the first. They base their self-worth on whether others see them as good, likable, or successful. This is a recipe for disappointment and suffering because approval is often conditional, inconsistent, and outside of our control. The prison of approval seeking. Seeking approval from others leads to a deeply unfree life. When our actions are driven by the need for praise or recognition, we end up tailoring our behavior to meet others' expectations rather than our own values. We suppress our true selves and become dependent on external feedback. Even when approval is gained, it comes at the cost of freedom. We're judged based on others' yardsticks, what they think is good or valuable, rather than our own. Praise, in this view, is another form of control. Worst of all, seeking approval puts us in constant competition. If someone else earns more validation, we feel lesser by comparison. Life becomes a zero-sum game. We may resent others' successes or secretly feel better when they fail, which damages our ability to form authentic, supportive relationships. The shift to contribution. Kishimi and Fumitaki offer a powerful alternative to approval-seeking, living a life of contribution. Rather than asking, "Do people like me?" or "Am I seen as good?" the more helpful question becomes, "Am I being of use to someone?" This doesn't mean self-sacrifice or people-pleasing. It means finding joy and meaning in offering value to others, on your own terms. When someone feels they are contributing meaningfully, they no longer need recognition to feel good about themselves. Their sense of worth comes from within. Contribution, the authors argue, is a more sustainable path to happiness because it's under your control. You can decide what kind of contribution matters to you, whether that's helping a friend, raising a child, creating art, or simply being kind to a stranger. What matters is your belief that your presence has a positive impact. Relationships without competition or sacrifice. A major barrier to healthy relationships is the belief that they must involve sacrifice. Many unhappy people think, "If I do something for you, you owe me something in return." This tit-for-tat mentality can lead to resentment, especially when expectations go unmet. For example, if someone throws a surprise party for a friend and expects the same in return, they are not really acting out of love or joy. They're investing in a transaction. If the friend doesn't reciprocate, they feel hurt or betrayed. Happy people, by contrast, act based on what brings them joy, not what they might get in return. They don't view relationships as negotiations, but as expressions of shared humanity. Additionally, when we stop viewing others as rivals, we can genuinely celebrate their success. We're not threatened by their achievements because we understand that someone else's light doesn't dim our own. Freedom through self-acceptance. To escape the trap of approval-seeking, Kishimi and Fumitaki emphasize the need for self-acceptance. This means recognizing your inherent value as a human being, not because of your achievements, talents, or status, but simply because you exist. They argue that each person's presence has value, even if they've made mistakes or haven't done anything great. This belief lays the groundwork for real confidence, not the kind based on comparison or perfection, but the kind rooted in intrinsic worth. True freedom, they assert, only comes when we are no longer afraid of being disliked. When we let go of the need to be praised, admired, or loved by everyone, we gain the courage to live authentically. Living in the present. Finally, the authors urge us to live in the present. Many people postpone happiness until they've achieved some goal, graduated, gotten married, landed the dream job. But happiness isn't something we find in the future. It's something we choose in the now. You don't need to do something great to be happy. You just need to recognize the impact you have right now on the people around you. When you find joy in that contribution, you can live meaningfully no matter what your circumstances are. Conclusion: the courage to be disliked. The message of the courage to be disliked is both simple and challenging. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. It's not only impossible, it's unnecessary. The path to happiness isn't paved with approval, but with contribution, self-acceptance, and living according to your values. You must accept that being disliked by some people is an inevitable part of living authentically. The courage to be disliked is, in truth, the courage to be free, and with that freedom comes the possibility of real, lasting happiness. Core idea. Most of your unhappiness comes from worrying about what others think. Freedom, having the courage to be disliked. Based on Alfred Adler's psychology, we are not defined by past trauma. We choose our emotions based on goals. Our actions, thoughts, and feelings serve our desired outcomes. Main takeaways. 1. You choose unhappiness. People use unhappiness to avoid difficult goals, like risk of failure. Example: anxiety before a job interview may actually serve the goal of avoiding rejection. 2. The past doesn't define you. You assign meaning to past events. We do not suffer from the shock of our experiences, but from the meaning we give them. 3. All problems equals relationship problems. Unhappiness often comes from a frustrating relationship goal: I want everyone to like me. Why seeking approval fails. Uncontrollable: you can't force others to like you. Competitive: makes life a win-lose game. Conditional: love becomes a reward, not real. Restrictive: you lose your freedom to please others. The cycle of approval: seeks praise, doesn't get it, feels flawed, avoids trying, blames self again. What to do instead: focus on contribution. Am I being of use to someone? True happiness comes from feeling useful, not praised. Helping others is not self-sacrifice, it's a joyful choice. Recognition isn't needed when you already feel fulfilled. Healthy relationships equals no competition or sacrifice. Don't act out of expectation for return. Don't view others as rivals. Let go of entitlement and love freely. Freedom through self-acceptance. You have value just by existing. You don't need to earn your worth. Once you accept yourself, others' opinions matter less. Live in the present. You can choose to be happy right now. Don't wait to be successful or perfect. Enjoy the journey. Find meaning in how you impact others today. Final message. You will be disliked by some. That's okay. What matters is living a life true to your values. It takes courage, but it's the only path to real freedom and joy.